the fastest speeds reached on a public road have been in recent times? Think about Koenigseggs, Bugatti Veyrons, Ferraris, etc. Well, think again, because it was on January 28, 1938 that the great Rudolf Caracciola, driving a streamlined W125 Mercedes-Benz powered by a very experimental 5.7 litre V12 engine, went on to set a record-breaking speed on the Frankfurt to Darmstadt Autobahn. Yes, you heard it right, on the Autobahn. It had rained a day earlier when Mercedes-Benz and Rudy came down there to beat the Class C records. Class C denoting cars with an engine capacity from 5000 to 8000 cc. And when he went out for his two time runs in opposite directions, he just demolished the Class C record. Something which has stood so till November 2017. And what was the record? 268.92 miles per hour or 432.69 kilometers per hour for the flying kilometer, and 268.75 miles per hour or 432.42 kilometers per hour for the flying kilometer. These were the fastest speeds ever recorded on a public road, and these were properly administered records by the German National Federation with the international observers there. Think again, the car which eclipsed this in 2017 had twice the power of the W125, had tremendous innovation as far as aerodynamics were concerned, brakes were concerned, or just take the tires. This car ran on skinny tires compared to what has happened right now in recent times. I think the contact patch would have been only about 6 to 8 inches on each of them, and of course you have to think about Rudy Caracciola's deft touch in handling this car. Rudy needed all of his great skills to keep the car pointed in a straight line, and as you can see, this car was the first time all enveloping aerodynamic bodywork was employed on a record breaker from Mercedes-Benz. Actually speaking, Mercedes-Benz went to two of the best names in German aviation at that time. Ernst Heinkel of the Heinkel Aircraft Company and the great Willy Messerschmitt, the man who needs no introduction thanks to his Me-109, Bf-109, Bf-110 and the Me-262 jet fighter aircraft which he developed during the war. Both Heinkel and Willy Messerschmitt informed Daimler-Benz that they needed to make the front overhang as low and as less as possible. They also ensured that the bodywork sides were curved in and not just flat, and they also wanted to have the tail section as well slanted up. This was so that they did not put much pressure on either the front axle or had great underbody airflow to keep the car stable at speed. Importantly, Rudy's deft touch made all the difference. I remember his single statement when he made after the run: "At this high speed, I had to steer very precisely. Yet even before the brain had realized what action was needed, I was already past that." As you can see from this superlative 1:18 scale model which I have in my collection, symbolically one of the greatest cars in the history of the automobile, not just Mercedes-Benz alone. Of course, finished in silver as all the silver arrow racers were. If you would look at the image of the car from the front, you would find the nose had very small appendages for the air intakes. But this was by design, as the aerodynamicists Heinkel and Messerschmitt had advised Daimler-Benz to. They acknowledged that the strong airflow, if they were bigger, larger radiator openings, would really up the drag coefficient. So, to keep the 5577cc V12 engine cool and running optimally through the test, the engineers put the radiator in a special tank of water and also packed it with 5 kilograms of ice so that it sufficed for each of the 2 runs to be made. And George Shearer, the engine man, really worked on the motor very, very well. And with all his tweaks, it pumped out 765 brake horsepower and a whopping 983 Newton meters of torque. In fact, this torque sort of semblance really shook up those dynamometers in the racing department at Untertürkheim. When Rudy made the runs, at times he was going past the 450 km per hour mark. So you can understand how importantly everything gelled together. Aerodynamics, airflow, the engine, cooling, Rudy's touch, everything. This car was only a solitary example built for the express purpose of going record breaking. Rudolf Caracciola was a 3-time European Grand Prix champion in the 1930s. That was the equivalent of a Formula 1 World Championship today. But more importantly, he was also one of the foremost exponents in record breaking from 1934 to 1939, setting new world records no less than 8 times. And if you can think across how effective was Mercedes-Benz and the W125's build. In the 1980s, they took the car in the Daimler-Benz wind tunnel and found out that it had a drag coefficient of just 0.170. So you can understand and appreciate how advanced these guys were in the 1930s, and given across almost 7 decades since then, for another car in modern day times to just about beat the W125's time is something else altogether. If you care to think about it, this car still exists in the superlative Mercedes-Benz Museum in Stuttgart. It is having pride of place in the record breaker section of the museum, and I think if ever you get to go to see that, just do go and take a closer look at the car, which is so dramatically displayed there. If motor racing history of the 3-pointed star is of interest to you, then you might also want to read more about cars like the W125, its Grand Prix cousins, the earliest Grand Prix cars from 1906, the Gordon Bennett Cup winning cars, the rally machines, London City cars, the 1954 and 55 Formula 1 World Championship winning cars, and of course, so many cars right down to the present day Lewis Hamilton Formula 1 World Championship winning cars. Look at my book, Mercedes-Benz Winning. For more details, write into info@ADIL'S.com. As I wrap up this special video on a special car, I bid you goodbye. Stay safe, drive safe, more importantly, live safe.